Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Windhoek, Namibia, marking the final stop of his five-nation tour. He's just now left for India after his five-nation, two-continent tour. This marks Prime Minister Modi's first ever visit to the country, that's Namibia. He was greeted by the Indian diaspora amid rather loud cheers. The Prime Minister was given a ceremonial welcome, complete with traditional performances in which the Prime Minister himself took part, even trying his hand at the local drums. Prime Minister Modi held delegation-level talks with the Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah and at the State House in the capital city of Windhoek. The deliberations were aimed to deepen the economic partnership between the two countries by exploring new areas of cooperation in critical sectors. MOUs have been signed in the fields of health, medicine, global biofuel, infrastructure framework, and entrepreneurship. Prime Minister Modi was conferred with Namibia's highest civilian honor, Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis, during his one-day state visit to the African nation. The award recognizes distinguished service and leadership. This is the 27th global honor for Prime Minister Modi, the fourth during the ongoing five-nation visit that just concluded. He has just left for New Delhi. He also addressed the Namibian Parliament in Windhoek, invoking India's long-standing support for Namibia's freedom and freedom struggle and expressing New Delhi's commitment to work alongside the Southern African nation as it moves towards its development goals under Vision 2030. He also received a standing ovation, as you can see, at the Parliament by the parliamentarians. The Prime Minister said the freedom to future is the path Delhi and Windhoek have pursued, referring to the decades-long ties between both nations.
When you help us in reintroducing cheetahs in our country, we are deeply grateful for your gift. I had the privilege of releasing them into the Kuno National Park. They have sent a message for you. Inima Aishe Oili Nawa. They are happy and have adapted well in their new home. They have grown in numbers as well. Clearly, they are enjoying their time in India. Friends, I conclude by wishing Namibia great success in co-hosting the 2027 Cricket World Cup. And if your Eagles need any cricket tips, you know whom to call.
Pranay Upadhyay joins me for more on this. Pranay, sense of humor, cricket diplomacy, hackplomacy, cheetah diplomacy, all packed into this one major tour of Prime Minister Modi, which is just concluded. He's just taken flight to New Delhi. Well, Pranay, can you hear me? Well, it seems like we are having a bit of a trouble with Pranay Upadhyay's audio there. We will try connecting with him. But this is a major, major tour that just concluded. 5 nations, 2 continents, a lot of conversations beyond just culture, traditional ties, historical ties. There were major deals that were signed in the tech, trade, especially rare earths and minerals sector. So that's very crucial for India and the 2 continents of Latin America and the Americas and Africa. Pranay is with us. Pranay, a lot of diplomacy, whether it's cheetah or for that matter, trade, culture, and a bit of sense of humor there as well.
Absolutely. From cricket to wildlife conservation to mines, minerals to defense to even the health. Various sectors were covered during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Namibia, and he's already on his way back to India after the successful completion of his five-nation tour. Very many achievements we can count on during this Africa and Latin America outreach of Prime Minister Modi, Geeta. We know that Prime Minister's first in this five-nation tour, he had two stopovers in African continent. This clearly shows how much importance India attaches to the partnership with Africa. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while addressing to Namibian Parliament, its joint session, clearly said that we are there to co-development. We are there to progress together. We are there to help Africa and to grow because we are also a developing economy. We are ready to share our experience with you, and we are there to partner with you. Jana Aushadhi, especially for the pharmaceutical sector of India, will get a prominent access in Namibian market. So this is an important achievement, and also the UPI card will also be acceptable. The payment mechanism in Namibia. Prime Minister has also been conferred with the highest civilian award of Namibia. So many achievements, not only in Namibia but also in this five-nation tour of Prime Minister Modi.
Okay, then let's zoom out a little. The five-nation tour, a lot of questions being asked on what were the achievements. But there are massive deals that were signed, whether it's trade, technology, but also rare earth minerals. The things that the world is looking for when it comes to lithium, manganese, cobalt. And all those deals were signed or looking at further cooperation on that front with India.
You're absolutely right, Geeta. We all know that Africa is full of natural resources. Not only Africa, but even Latin America. When Prime Minister Modi visited Argentina, when he visited Brazil, not only the historical ties were renewed. Because if you see all these five nations for very many years in past, 2 decades, no Indian Prime Minister has visited in this region, and especially these countries. Even Namibia, after 27 years, any Indian Prime Minister visited Namibia. Brazil, after 56 years, and Argentina, all these countries. If you see, you have counted on the mines and mineral deals, but defense is also an important area where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has explored the possibility of partnership, possibility of Indian defense export to Argentina. As far as the rare earth minerals are concerned, Argentina was a prominent stop of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation tour, because there in northern Argentina, India has expressed interest through the Kabil, which is the Khanij Vikas Industrial Investment Limited, which is India's PSU, public sector undertaking, to have mining deals and mining rights there in Argentina. Besides that, energy is also an important area in Argentina. India want to source LNG. Namibia is also a country where a lot of oil and natural gas exploration happened, and besides that, the uranium is also India is looking at procurement of uranium from Namibia.
Right, Pranay Upadhyay, thank you so much for tracking all those countries day after day. We've been coming to you, dipping into you for the coverage of Prime Minister Modi in this 5-country, 2-continent tour. Netanyahu's Gaza plan aims to relocate over 2.1 million Palestinians into a walled camp on Rafah's ruins, what critics call ethnic cleansing. With military control, aid restrictions and forced emigration on the table, Gaza's future hangs by a thread. Watch our full report where we break down this explosive and controversial strategy.
Israel isn't just waging war in Gaza, it's preparing to erase it. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's latest plan is nothing short of population engineering. Relocate over millions of Palestinians into a walled-off humanitarian city built on the ruins of Rafah. A so-called safe zone? No, a cage. One that ends with all of Gaza trapped and stripped of its land, freedom and future. Defense Minister of Israel Katz confirmed that the Israeli military has orders to prepare mass transfers. Palestinians would be screened, locked inside and forbidden to leave. And if that sounds like a temporary fix, think again. Netanyahu is reviving Trump's mission. Let the US oversee Gaza post-war, then quietly encourage Palestinians to emigrate permanently. No country has agreed, but Netanyahu's betting someone will. What about those who refuse to leave? They'll stay under Israeli military control. Troops won't withdraw. They'll decide who gets food, fuel, medicine, if any. Aid, access, survival, it's all conditional. And critics aren't mincing words. Human Rights Watch calls it ethnic cleansing. Israeli human rights lawyers say it's a crime against humanity. Already, more than 50,000 Palestinians have been killed. Now the rest face forced displacement, disease, starvation, and the end of Gaza as they know it. Regional powers like the UAE have condemned the plan. The UN is warning of catastrophic civilian deaths. Even within Israel, the plan is causing friction, especially with hostages still in Hamas custody. And yet, while ceasefire talks continue, Israel's leaders are mapping the future, one where Gaza is emptied, militarily occupied, and reshaped forever. Humanitarian city or a blueprint for apartheid? Netanyahu's plan isn't about security. It's about erasure. And the world must decide, will it watch a people be driven off their land in real time? Or will it act before Gaza becomes a ghost? Rishika Aradia for India Today.
Joining me now is West Asia expert and senior journalist Dr. Wael Awad. Dr. Awad, thank you so much for joining me here. Gaza cleansing, is that the plan that was the ultimate plan after all? Because Netanyahu, in that meeting with Trump, was explaining how Gaza is not an open prison, that Gazans would be allowed to leave provided Arab nations are willing to take them. Not West Bank, not other parts of occupied territories, but Arab nations.
Thank you for having me. Actually, this is absolutely agree with the lawmakers and the academicians and the politicians and everybody saying it's a crime against the humanity. It's a war against the Palestinian, which they have started, and the pretext that they're defeating Hamas and turn out to be an ethnic cleansing and a one way to kick the Palestinian out of Gaza and continue the plan of Netanyahu, and also including with him is the President Trump to make Gaza Rivera and 1/3 of Gaza, because they are trying to push at least 600,000 Palestinians into what they call it as a humanitarian cities, where they will be, as the Israelis officials saying, that it will be forcibly expelling the Palestinian. And definitely none of the Arab countries, including Egypt and Jordan, are willing to take any Palestinian out of Gaza. And this is absolutely not in the history of the world, the Arab world. It is second Nakba for the Palestinian. And I think this is exposed the sinister plot to remove the Gazan people. And Gita, if you focus more into the West Bank, you can see what's happening in the West Bank. It's a clear indication it has nothing to do with Gaza, but to continue the annihilation of the total Palestine without finding any viable state of Palestine. Even Netanyahu has been saying there is no question of a state of Palestine.
Well, that's a very important statement on how Netanyahu is planning to remove Palestinians from their very land. Having said that, the latter part of this entire conversation is important. Netanyahu says that provided Arab nations, wherever they want to go, they can go. But over here, Dr. Awad, Arab nations have already said we are not taking in Palestinians, not because we don't want them, not because we no longer want refugees, but yes, Egypt has a problem of a lot of refugees. Having said that, they're saying it because if Palestinians leave Gaza, then that is exactly what Israel wants, an empty Gaza for themselves to take. It is war for land, not of people.
Absolutely. And I think that is the main plan. As I said, the problem with the world, it does not understand the American culture and the Israeli settlers culture. These are coming all from the United States, where they have thinking that they wanted to make is United States as a great country at the aboriginal skeletons which they have slaughtered in the territory. So for them, it's a land without people. How can you kick 2.5 million Palestinians from Gaza, 3.5 million Palestinians in the rest of the occupied territory? So where these people will go? I mean, this is absolutely a crime that the world has been witnessing, and I think the public opinion internationally is turning against this kind of ethnic cleansing and killing them. I mean, nobody is accepting this kind of a policy, no matter what it may come from the politician. But here you can see also Netanyahu winning the war in Gaza as he feels, and also he wanted to turn his gun against Lebanon, Hezbollah, and now he's getting the green card from President Trump because he's having another objectives inside Lebanon as well as in Syria, and he wanted to continue to take the corridors from Syria into the Kurdish area. So basically, Israeli politicians are working only in the greater Israel plan, which extend from the Sinai Peninsula to Iraq. So that is openly now they are saying it includes Syria, it includes Iraq, 1/3 of Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Jordan, and the Sinai Peninsula.
Dr. Awad, you just said that, the world will not watch and will not accept this, but I beg to differ. What I hear is silence, deafening silence. I have not seen any movement from the international community to really make an effort with the political will to stop these Israeli actions.
Well, I still believe in the public opinion, in the mass, which they have already turned against their own government. That is where the positive signs, Gita, have been now. Everybody in the world is demonstrating. Take it in Spain, in the United States, in Europe, in the Arab countries, except in the Arab countries, of course. Nobody's allowed to.
Except in the Arab countries.
Nobody is allowed to demonstrate for the sake of the Palestinians because of the American putting pressure in each government of the Arab world, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, I think there are still people who believes that the Palestinians have the right of existence in their own homeland.
Dr. Wael Awad, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective. Russian forces fired nearly 750 drones and missiles during overnight attacks targeting the western part of the country. The attacks mainly targeted Ukraine's western Volyn region, the capital of which, Lutsk, borders Poland and Belarus. Russia's massive overnight attacks on Ukraine come as the US has announced it will reverse course on a recent decision to pause the delivery of air defense weaponry to Kyiv.
Russia's launched one of the largest drone attacks on Ukraine since the beginning of its invasion. According to Ukrainian officials, the attack involved 728 drones and 13 missiles, targeting regions far from the active front lines. The barrage came a day after US President Donald Trump reversed his stance on Ukraine and confirmed sending weapons to Ukraine, which had previously been put on hold. He also criticized Russian President Vladimir Putin and suggested that additional sanctions against Moscow are on the table.
That was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Do you want to grab as a sanctions bill on Russia? Do you want him to vote?
I'm looking at it, yeah, no, I'm looking. The Senate is passing and passed a very, very tough sanctions bill. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
In response, the Kremlin said that it was calm regarding the criticism and maintained that they remain open to dialogue with the US.
You know, we treat it quite calmly. In general, Trump has quite a tough style in terms of the phrasing he uses. We hope to continue our dialogue with Washington and our course aimed at repairing the badly damaged bilateral ties.
With Russian strikes intensifying and global powers weighing in, hopes for a diplomatic resolution remain elusive. Neha Kumari for India Today.
China has delivered on its threat of retaliation against Taiwan by imposing export controls on 8 Taiwanese companies tied to the island's military sector, escalating the technology confrontation that began when Taiwan blacklisted Chinese tech giants Huawei and SMIC last week. China's Commerce Ministry announced that it would add 8 Taiwan-based firms to an export control list, citing national and regional security concerns. The ban comes as Taiwan begins its annual Han Kuang military drills, which will simulate defenses against a possible invasion by China. The drills are said to be the largest and longest so far, lasting about 10 days, twice as long as last year's exercises. China regards Taiwan as its own territory to be annexed by force if necessary. Beijing has branded Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te as a separatist and refuses to speak to him. Artificial intelligence is now being used for more than deepfakes and chatbots. It's entering the world of high-stakes diplomacy. In a troubling new case, someone used an AI-generated voice to impersonate none other than the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and contacted multiple government officials, including foreign ministers and a sitting governor. So how far could AI deception go before someone falls for it or it leads to irreparable diplomatic damage?
A stunning case of AI impersonation is raising alarm bells in Washington. An individual used an AI-generated voice to pose as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and contacted several high-level officials in the process. The incident happened in mid-June. Someone using the encrypted messaging app Signal sent texts and voicemails to at least 3 foreign ministers, a U.S. governor and a member of Congress, pretending to be Secretary Rubio. According to a diplomatic cable reviewed by Reuters, the impersonator used AI-generated audio and text to try and manipulate the targets, likely aiming to gain access to sensitive information or accounts. While there's no evidence of a direct cyber breach, officials warn that if anyone had responded, confidential data could have easily been compromised. The State Department confirmed it's investigating and says it's ramping up efforts to guard against future attacks. Meanwhile, the FBI had already flagged AI impersonation as a rising threat back in May, warning that attackers could use fake voices to get into personal or government accounts. The State Department is urging all US posts and partners to be on high alert for fake messages. They warned that what sounds real may not be real at all. Rudrashish Kanjilal for India Today.
Now, the International Criminal Court, that's ICC, on July 8th issued arrest warrants against Supreme Leader of the Taliban in Afghanistan, Haibatullah Akhundzada, and the Chief Justice of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan that is being ruled by the Taliban, Abdul Hakim Haqqani. The 2 de facto rulers are accused of crimes against humanity, specifically gender-based persecution targeting Afghan women, girls, and others defying Taliban gender policies. ICC found reasonable grounds to believe that the Taliban leaders committed by ordering, inducing, or soliciting crimes against humanity under Article 7(1)H of the Rome Statute. These acts were based both on gender and perceived political affiliations. This is the first time that ICC has issued arrest warrants against Taliban leadership, marking a major development in global efforts to hold Afghanistan's rulers accountable for human rights violations. The crimes, which span from August 15, 2021, when the Taliban seized power, until at least January 20, 2025, are believed to include murder, imprisonment, torture, rape, and enforced disappearances, particularly targeting women and children. Women and girls particularly. The chamber also noted that others described as allies of girls and women were persecuted for supporting gender rights or opposing the Taliban's restrictive policies, even if only passively. ICC emphasized that gender persecution includes not just physical violence, but systemic and institutionalized forms of harm, including discriminatory policies and enforced societal norms. That's all in this edition of World Today. But before I go, here's another story I'll leave you with. Firefighters have battled through the night and brought a fast-moving blaze on the outskirts of France's second-largest city, Marseille, under control after the wildfire injured more than 100 people and prompted hundreds to evacuate. The blaze was ignited by a car fire in Les Pen-Mirabeau, a small community about 8 miles north of Marseille. Whipped by powerful erratic winds, the wildfire has spread to about 1,700 acres, forcing the authorities to temporarily halt flights, suspend trains and close some roads. With that, it's goodbye from me. Take care.